Welcome back to Return to Yehovah. It's been a while since I put up a video, but I've got some ideas, so I'm going to start hopefully putting out a couple more here. Today I want to talk about the 144,000 that are mentioned in the book of Revelation. They're in a couple chapters, but primarily I'm just looking at chapter 7 of Revelation right now. Now, if you're like me, you've probably heard about them, and people have been talking about them for years. Bible teachers and preachers and prophecy experts have talked about them ad infinitum, and there's probably thousands of videos about them on the internet, okay, on YouTube and all that. But it seems like almost without fail, when people refer to them, they call them the Jews. They just think they're all Jews. And that drives me crazy. It's like, read what it says, and they clearly are not just Jews, okay? Now, if this is new to you, bear with me. I'll put it all together. This is not meant to be a huge, extensive study of the Word of God, but it's just, I want to make a point about this, okay? It's actually pretty dirt basic teaching from the Bible that should not be that confusing, but I've heard it so many times, I finally decided I had to say something. Excuse me. Now, first of all, Revelation chapter 7, beginning with verse 1, excuse me, it says, "After these things, I, John, saw four angels standing at the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth or the sea or any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God." That's kind of cool. "And he cried," this angel cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea. And he said to them, "Do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their or on their foreheads." And I heard the number of those that were sealed, and he says here it was 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So did you hear that? Of all the tribes. That may seem unimportant right now, but bear with me. All right, so first of all, I don't know why this is overlooked by so many teachers. I think it's because they were taught this way. They were somehow taught that the end times are going to play out a certain way, certain things are going to happen, but the main thing a lot of them seem to teach in the Christian world or whatever is there's going to be a rapture one day. All believers are taken out of here, completely out of the world, and then the only people left are unbelievers and the Jews. I've heard a lot of these teachers say that. I don't know why. It's pretty insulting if you're a Jewish person, but that's what they say because that's what they've been taught, okay? So they believe these Jews and the other people are just going to have to deal with the Antichrist and the Great Tribulation and all the horrible things going on. So that's why when there's a group of these 144,000 that seem to be related to the Jews, they must be Jews. What else could they be, is what I think is going on. All right? Anyhow, let's see what the Bible actually says. Now, Revelation 7, verse 5, it talks about, these were the ones that were sealed of the children of Israel. And it says, of the tribe of Judah, 12,000 were sealed. Now, you can read this for yourself. I'll go through it fast, because I don't want to bore anybody if I can help it, okay? Of the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Gad, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Asher, 12,000. Now, I'm going to pause for a second. Somebody could probably do a study, and it might be actually interesting as to why they're in that order. I don't really know, but there's a reason when God does anything like this, there's a reason they were put in that order, but that's not pertinent to today anyhow. Just bear with me. So we showed Asher. Now, Of the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000. Of Manasseh, 12,000. Of Simeon, 12,000. Of Levi, 12,000. Of Issachar, 12,000. Of Zebulun, 12,000. And then the last two of the tribe of Joseph, 12,000. And of the tribe of Benjamin, 12,000 were sealed. So, that's 12 sets of 12,000. Do the math, it's 144,000, right? Okay. Now, why am I saying these are not Jews? Those all sound like names of the sons of Jacob or Israel, and obviously they are. You can go back into the book of Genesis. I don't know if I have it in front of me right now, but which chapters it was. I'm sorry, I should have that. I'll try to put that down below in the description section. But the main thing is, if you know your Bible, after the time of Solomon, in fact, shortly thereafter, God had decided he was going to rip the kingdom into two parts. He gave 10 of the tribes to a guy named Jeroboam. You can read about that, in the Bible later, in the Old Testament, of course. But then he left, technically, just the tribe of Judah with, as the descendants of David. He left that with Solomon, or his son Rehoboam, okay? But anyhow, the kingdom of Israel had been united under David and Solomon, and then it was torn apart because of Solomon's idolatry, okay? And so you have what's called the kingdom of Israel, which made up the 10 tribes. Just bear with me, the number may not sound right for now. But then you had the kingdom of Judah. And so throughout the books of Kings and Chronicles, it talks about the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel. Judah was in the south of the country, and Israel was in the north. And as you go through that, the only thing I want you to know, the Jewish people are where the term or came from, or are descendants of Judah, or the tribe of Judah. And that's because the name Judah in Hebrew would have been Yehudah, and Yehudim is plural for Judahites or whatever. So just bear with me. But so the Jews, it's understood, came from the tribe of Judah. Okay, but as it turns out, Benjamin stayed with Judah, the people of Benjamin, and they also were right there close to Jerusalem anyhow. And since the Levites were all the priests that worked in the temple and did all the sacrifices and all, the Levites, majority, I can't say all, stayed with Judah in the kingdom of Judah. So you still had Jerusalem, and you still had the Davidic line of kings for a while, living, in and around Jerusalem in the kingdom of Judah, okay? And that properly can be called the Jews. For a while, it was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi living together, or, dwelling in that kingdom. But the other tribes, they're referred to as the 10 tribes, basically were, they separated and they went into what's called the kingdom of Israel. But Israel fell into idolatry, as you can read in your own Bible, over and over and over again, and they so much wickedness through their kings and stuff that finally God destroyed the nation itself. He had them carried off by the Assyrians in an approximately 722 BCE. Okay, so 700 years before Messiah ever came to earth, the kingdom of Israel, after repeated idolatry and warnings from God and everything else, they were finally carted off and taken, not just conquered, but taken out of the land and dispersed into the kingdom of the Assyrians. And it talks about where they were spread out or whatever, okay? Let me see if I can... well, there's a verse, okay, 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 6. I'll just, there's a couple verses here, but it says, in the 9th year of Hoshea, the king, Hoshea was a king of Israel at the time, not of Judah, but of Israel. And it says, in the 9th year of that king, the king of Assyria took or conquered Samaria, which was what they called their capital at the time. And he carried Israel, all the people, or many of them, away into Assyria. And he placed them in places called Hala and Habor by the river of Gozan, in the cities of the Medes. Okay, so you've heard of the Medes and the Persians. Anyhow, so they were literally hundreds, thousands of them carted off. Now probably many of them were killed in battles, but many of them were carted off because of their sins against God. And you can read about that again in 2 Kings. And it talks about their idolatry and all that they did. They really made God angry. He repeatedly tried to get them to turn back. They would not. So he was done with them and kicked them out of the land. And it even says in 2 Kings 17, verse 18, "Therefore the Lord, Yehovah, was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight." Pretty scary when you think about it. And it finishes by saying, "There was none left but the tribe of Judah only." Now, before you jump on that tribe of Judah only thing, he doesn't mean he got rid of all the Levites that were living in the kingdom of Judah. And he doesn't mean he got rid of all the people of Benjamin that were living in the kingdom. We're talking about the half of the kingdom that was called Israel was carted off and they were gone. Later then, God turns his focus on Judah and deals with them. Had some good kings and some rotten kings, but that's, for another story, okay? So, this idea of all these tribes being taken out of their land, and you may have heard that the Assyrians would take people from somewhere else in their kingdom and planted them in Samaria. And that later became the Samaritans that we know from New Testament writings. Okay, again, I don't want to get into that, but imagine basically people that comprised roughly 10 of the tribes that were originally the 12 tribes of Jacob. 10 of them were carted off into other parts of the world. Now that was 700 years before Messiah, so we're talking, at least 2,700, maybe 2,740 years ago, give or take. Those people, for the most part, never returned to the land. Okay, they didn't come back and say, "We're the tribe of Issachar, and we're going to come back and live in our, ancestral home," or whatever. It's never happened, okay? Same with others. Now, I know some will say, "Oh, wait, I've heard of people like from Manasseh that came back." There were some that were found, I think, in China or some, remote parts of China that had ancestry showing that they were descendants of Manasseh, and they still keep a lot of the teachings of the Torah in some way. I don't know much about them yet, but they either have come to the land of Israel that's modern day, or they're working on trying to move into the land of Israel that's there today, okay? But my point I'm trying to make is, if a few come from these different tribes, even if it's a few hundred, it is not all the tribes coming back into the land. And I've heard that part from a lot of teachers also. They think that because a bunch of Jews came from, some from America, some from Europe, and some from the former Soviet Union, that look, God has brought all his people back, or, they sort of give you that idea. Yes, it's the hand of God and it's awesome, but it is not the full extent by any means, okay? But for today, I'm trying to focus on the 144,000, and like I read off the list of all those different tribes. So keep in mind, you had 12 names, okay? 3 of them, of the 12, Judah was there. You can look back at your list in Revelation chapter 7. So Judah was there. Benjamin was there, okay? And Levi. So all 3 of those are by definition, according to the Bible, the kingdom of Judah, okay? So they could rightfully be called the Jews. So you could say that of the 144,000, 36,000, or 3 sets of 12,000, will be quote-unquote Jews, okay? The other 9 sets of 12,000 are somebody else. So this is where I think it gets kind of cool. All right, so imagine who in the world are these other, sets of 9. What we don't know, okay, since there are no people other than a few random or small groups, in general, there is no group that can say, I'm the tribe of Simeon, I'm the tribe of Naphtali, or I'm, that really knows it, that believes it, that has kept their traditions, and that go by that name. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, but why in the last book of the Bible is God saying, at some point, He's not only going to bring together 12,000 from each of these different tribes, but He's going to put some kind of seal in their foreheads, okay? And an angel is coming to do it, or maybe several, I don't know, but, this is an act of God. I don't know that it's going to be a public thing that any of us are going to see. Some have speculated, emphasis on speculated, that all these people, all 144,000, are going to be gathered from all the countries. Could be some South America, some from Alaska, some from Russia, some from Europe, whatever, China, Indonesia, whatever, wherever these people may be, and they're going to be gathered like back to Jerusalem, or something like that. Now there is a later chapter, and I am not referring to that right now, but if you look it up in the book of Revelation, there's a later chapter where the 144,000 are gathered at Mount Zion, which is in Jerusalem, and they are with the Lamb of God, or Yeshua, the Messiah, okay? But I think that's a separate event. I think it's the same 144,000, but all we know is these people are somehow, some way, sealed by God's angels. And I don't know, but I think it's interesting to consider is, of those other 9 tribes that are not considered Jews, those people may have no idea what tribe they may come from. Now, some people will say, oh, they're just Gentiles. Granted, they may appear to be Gentiles to the world and to all of us, because they'll be from other countries. But what I think is cool is that God Himself knows who is from that tribe, who is from that tribe, and who is from that tribe. I mean, one of you out there watching, you may not know it in your lifetime, and you don't need to know right now, okay? But you could, find out one day that you're actually one of the descendants of one of the tribes of Jacob. Who knows? To me, it's an interesting concept, okay? But either way, what I like is that, and I really am trying to make the point that stop saying they're all Jews, okay? Because it's biblically inaccurate. It's not smart to just say something, and I'm not blaming any certain person out there, but it's just incorrect, okay? Maybe I sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm trying to make the point. You got a couple things going on here. They're not all Jews. God knows who these other people are. They may never know in this lifetime. Who knows? And I don't know exactly what their mission is, but they're going to be sealed for a purpose only God knows at this point. A lot of people teach that they are going to be evangelists going out into the whole world preaching the gospel of Yeshua, and people are going to be saved by the millions, and I hope to God they are. Although there's great amount of evidence hinting at that, I wish it would just come out and say it, word for word, this is what they're going to do. But God is a master of making some of that stuff mysterious, and then when it's revealed, it's incredible, okay? But one thing to keep in mind, I don't believe for a minute that when the tribulation begins, whatever you believe about the rapture, there are going to be people that are going to be from each of those tribes. And see, God promises in His Word in the Old Testament with several different prophets that He's going to bring the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah back together. He talks about two sticks, one for Judah and one for Israel, and they're going to be united and they will be one in God's hand. That has never happened in our world yet, okay? So God is going to do it, and one picture of that coming to fruition is this 144,000. Exactly what they're going to do, I don't know. But to me, it's all part of God bringing his plan together. You know, promises he made through the prophets of the old are part of this. So don't think that the New Testament and the Old Testament are totally separate and unrelated. They are all connected. God has intertwined the story of man and the story of Yeshua, his son, all through all of that. And Israel is not cast away. God is not done with them by any means, okay? So anyhow, I'll just say, I want you to consider that. I truly believe that is absolute truth. I'm sorry that we've all been told by teachers that just didn't know any better that they're just Jews, okay? But it's way more than that. God has a bigger picture and a bigger plan than we have any idea. So all we can do is just hang on and watch and see what comes next. But that's all for now. At some point I might do a little more detail about, a little bit more about the tribes and the promises. That's what it is, the promises that God made about bringing them back together. But I'll have to work on that next. So Yehovah bless you and keep you. Shalom.